Hello.
Karen Kennaby, it is wonderful to have you here.
It's wonderful to be here with you at the Odd Show.
Oh, Karen, a really warm welcome to another powerful conversation in the Hidden to Heard series. And really, this is a space where we honor the real, the raw, the untold, and that beautiful journey that takes us on this heart-led leadership space that we find ourselves in. So I'm really excited to have you on with me today. And before we go any further, I just want to share with the audience how we met. So this is synchronicity for you, audience. Karen and I met last month. It was last month, right?
Yeah,
And we were at this wonderful networking event, and I'm always a little bit apprehensive of how they're going to be, but this one was beautiful. And at the very end of the day, I met Karen. And Karen had just launched her book, which we're going to be talking about today. And I do actually have a copy here. Yes, indeed. I've got a beautifully signed copy of Ellev8 Book One. We'll talk more about that. And we just aligned. It was like our energies just fused. And what was really beautiful, what I loved about Karen is you were actually having your soft launch that evening for your book in Covent Garden, which is where we were, and you very kindly invited me. And that just really touched my heart. So I just wanted to share that. And I'd love for you to just talk a little bit about that and the place that we were at for the launch of your book.
absolutely. And, I will say it was a very small, intimate event. And this wasn't sort of spreading out invitations, but the connection that I had with you, Abby, I just knew that this was going to be actually, I think, probably a lifelong connection. And I really wanted you there. I wanted your energy there. And it's a little wine bar that opened a number of years ago, which I discovered the week that it opened. And it's in Dickens' former home and printworks. And he would sit there, and it's been converted into a beautiful space. He would
Yeah.
sit there with a pint of champagne while he wrote. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I loved it. I really want you to share that bit because I think just even the space in the building and the intricacies of all the little spaces, the little coves, it was so beautiful. And do you remember, I'm sure you do, it had this amazing kind of peacock style painting on the back of the wall that came alive. And it was just perfect, I think, for your intimate, very intimate soft book launch. But yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. And here we are.
And here we are. Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me now.
You are more than welcome. And so I just want to share a little bit about you. So Karen Kennaby is the founder of Ellev8 Collective, a global sisterhood of powerful women coming together to create meaningful impact. With over 40 years of experience, I am celebrating you for that. 40 years of experience across events, transformation, high level connections. And really, I think what's so interesting about the kind of work that you do is that you weave together like intuitive and practical wisdom. It blends together into one seamlessly. Um, and and I guess in that you're creating spaces for collaboration, growth, visibility, and whether you're hosting global events, global retreats, the key thing about what you do is that you allow other women in so that they can see the light that is shining on them. And I think with that work, you aligning them with stepping into their fullness of their power, it's incredible. You are now a published author, you're a host, you're a transformation catalyst. And so let's get into the questions. So I'm just really, I guess I'm really curious about your book, the first book, which is one book of how many? How many books are in your mind? How many books and how did this whole concept come about, Karen?
So this is book one in a series of eight. And it feels as though, although eight sounds a lot, it feels as though that is just going to be the beginning. So for well over 15 years, I'd been thinking about writing a book, and I'd started a few times with different methodologies and things. And it always felt as though there was too much to try and incorporate,
Yeah.
because I wanted it to be, a personal development journey, but I also wanted it, people kept saying, you've got to include your story. And then I wanted to include some of my recipes. I create recipes all the time, and also some of my poetry. And so
Right.
I could never decide really, well, what's coming first. So nothing happened. And I don't believe in, the word trying. So basically, I failed for over 15 years to actually write a book. And then last year, the man who was to become my book coach said, well, I think it's a series of eight. And my body just went whoosh. And I knew that was
Yeah.
it. And that expansiveness, I think, allowed then for book one to flow. And we have some of the ideas and content for the whole series. And it was all written through downloads. So, no, it wasn't formulaic. It was just, so it's powerful,
Yeah.
very
I
powerful.
love that. I love that. So I'm just really listening in because you're saying that it was all written through downloads. And so when you say downloads, tell me what do you mean by that? Like I have my interpretation of what that
Yeah,
is, but what does downloads when you say it mean?
pure flow. So, so Pete would ask me, so we'd be talking and he'd saying, oh, I have a feeling that, we need to look at such and such. And typically I'd say, oh, I don't think I've got enough to talk about on that. And he'd say, well, let's just try, and he'd ask me a question, and then, okay, I would just be in complete flow. And an hour later, he'd say, oh, well, I guess you did then.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. So it's really tapping into that unconscious knowing that we have.
Yes.
And as we know, we are less than 5% conscious of what's
Yeah.
going on. So
Yeah.
there's a huge amount that we know. And so really drawing that out.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautifully answered. And I think what's really interesting about this first book in a series of eight is elevate. So the eight, in terms of how I look at it, and possibly how you look at it, is, eight is that infinite number, no beginning, no end. So I'm just wondering whether that had anything to play in how you titled your books.
Totally. So Ellev8 is my brand. And so Ellev8 Collective is the overarching theme. And I have Ellev8 circles, I have an Ellev8 Facebook group and different things. And
Yeah.
my unique and exquisite journeys come under that. So the books were always going to be Ellev8. And it's spelt ELLEV and then a number eight. So L as in feminine, woman, in
Yes.
French. And so it had to be Ellev8. And so it's book one of eight. And this particular one is called Letting the Light In. Um,
Yes. Yeah. And so this particular one, because I love that. Letting the Light In was the first title. And again, did that just did that flow through you as or was that something you'd already thought about? Like, how did you come up
um,
with the first title of the
no,
series
that
of eight?
that came through, and it ties in very much my whole purpose in life. My sole purpose is to inspire the light within each of us, so we finally overcome the darkness. And obviously that's inside and out. And my goodness, don't we need that?
Yeah.
So for me, this letting the light in, it's a very gentle, sort of gradual journey. um, I think of it very much as, take me by the let me take you by the hand, come and,
Yeah.
come and sit by
Yeah.
me, and
Yeah.
let's have a chat.
Yeah.
And that's really the energy that I wanted the book to have, and I believe it has.
Yes.
And I wanted, if it's the first book that anybody's read about personal development work or spiritual journey or any of that. I wanted it to be completely accessible. But for those who've done a lot of work, I wanted it to be wonderful to just, pop in and get some refreshment and
Yes.
think, oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it does that. And I think what I loved about it, I love that the what I call the collaboration of parts. So the poetry, because you're a qualified chef as well, right?
Yes.
Like when did you find the time to do that?
Well, it was what I did when I first left school. I went to college to do hotel management and
Yeah,
loved it. And 70% of our time was in the kitchen training with five-star hotel chefs.
yeah,
And it was just amazing. And for the first time in my life, education made some sense.
yes,
And so it was great. And, that whole love of food and creation.
yeah,
I never went into a kitchen. I went into hotel management, but we were all
right.
trained. We were trained to that level, and so the love has stayed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
over all these years, because I mean that is, goodness me, that is it's 50. That's 52 years ago.
Wow,
College.
Karen.
52 years ago. It was funny when you said about the 40 decades, because I remember being introduced as having had 3 decades of business experience, and I went, "Gulp." Sounds like, and now it's 4 decades.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. But yeah,
Yeah,
passionate about entrepreneurial. And
yeah, yeah, beautiful. And also, what's kind of coming to me right now when you say about the 4 decades is the wisdom that you now have, that you've created for yourself and for the individuals that you work with is incredible. And how rich must that be? And I want to say that because I just think it's really important for us as women in leadership, particularly in the heart-led leadership world that we're in, that every year we have another, I call it Earth Day. Every year we have another day on this earth, another year of that. We bring more wisdom in. And so it's not about, oh my days, I'm getting older and what if, and it's not about that at all. We can really, as you've done, reframe that and just have these beautifully ripe years that, you've just written your first book in a series of 8.
yeah,
And I think that, that's a really powerful message that we get to share, that you get to share with your audience, and people listening into this get to hear as well.
absolutely. I mean, it's a privilege, isn't it, to be
Yeah.
alive? And we all of us, everyone who's listening, all of us, we all know people who haven't made it.
Yes.
And so, let's be grateful. And I am very aware that I'm in the wise woman phase of my life now, and I love it. And,
Yeah.
because there's so much life experience, there's so much business experience. I had a 7-figure event management company for 21 years with a team of
Yes.
24, and that's just part of it. And I love that. And
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
more, I think, as we get older, we can share that. And it's a shame when, I hear women, a lot of the women I work with are sort of 45 plus, maybe coming up to 50, and they're feeling really uncomfortable about their age. And I think, no, embrace it. I
Yeah.
mean, there are changes, without a doubt. Of course, there are changes,
Yeah.
physical,
Hmm.
mental, and spiritual. Um, and and we become so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And so I have a few more questions that I'd really love to lean in a little bit deeper with you about. And again, I love the title of your book, Letting the Light In. So can you take us back to a time, Karen, where your light wasn't as light, where there was some darkness that surrounded you from wherever situation that you were in, and that light flickered. Um, And I'm really interested to find out like what those moments taught you about yourself.
Well, it's interesting because I was sort of, as you were asking, I was sort of flicking through because obviously at this stage there've been a lot of things. I've had,
Yes.
my business eventually failed. I went bankrupt, so there's been that. Uh, I've been through 3 divorces, so I've had that and all different experiences. But
Yes.
one of the ones that, and I've broken away from business partners and shifted things. So there've been lots, but I think one that comes to mind, um, which surprises me, it's coming so much to the forefront, is I had a nervous breakdown. And so
Okay.
I'd very much been, uh, you know, things came along because obviously stuff happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
For all of us, so, things would come along. I'd get tired, I might get a little bit sick, I'd then dust myself off and I'd carry on. And I
Yeah.
never really allowed myself to fully go into them
Yes.
and also really heal from them or learn from them.
Yeah.
And so I think the one that really, really, really hit me was going bankrupt, but I didn't realize at the
Yes.
time the impact it was
Yeah.
having. And I kept saying I was fine. I have an acronym for that in the book, but
Uh-huh.
um, but I wasn't. But it was a few years before that really hit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so then I had a nervous breakdown, and I I really didn't know what to do initially, and I tried to struggle through, and you can't struggle through something like that. It was just
Yeah.
awful. And I remember, when you get a PIN number for something that you have to put in,
Yes.
and I couldn't remember more than one number at a time. So I was looking at
Yeah.
one, enter. So now it's one of those things where every time I had to put it in, I am so grateful that I
Yes.
can remember the numbers. And so I went to my doctor, usual thing, resisted the antidepressants and had talking therapy. And
Okay. Can I just ask you, hold
yes,
that thought a minute. What was it? Because you were clearly able to make a decision between antidepressants and this is just a and the talking therapy. What was it that drew you towards the talking therapy?
it wasn't easy to make the decision.
Mm.
I talked to my pharmacist, who I trusted in some ways more than my doctor, and I talked to my best friend.
Okay.
And I did take them for a short time, because it just calmed the nervous system,
Yes. Yes.
which meant that I could then do the talking therapy. I wasn't a
Yeah.
complete and utter mess. And
Yeah.
it was the first time that I'd really opened up. Um, and it needs to be to somebody who's not family and friends,
Absolutely.
because otherwise it can come back. People don't forget.
Yeah.
And with the
Yes.
best one in the world, there might be, are you okay?
Yes.
Questions which you don't need when you're, on that kind of journey.
Absolutely, Karen.
Or years later, something that you mentioned can come up. So it was very good to have somebody external,
Yeah.
and it's a mirror. And I
Yeah.
think, I was already a qualified coach,
Yeah.
mentor, but I'd never had somebody help me on this personal level. Um,
Right.
so
Okay.
it was really important, really valuable. And I think finding someone to talk to when you're in
Yeah.
that state is vital, and giving yourself time and not beating yourself up, because it's okay.
Yeah.
It's really okay. We actually have to go through at least one crash, I believe, in our
Yes.
lives
Yeah.
to
Hmm.
to really see what life is all about, because it isn't all fluffy cotton candy, whatever. It
It
isn't.
really isn't.
No. And until you've been through a dark night of the soul or whatever you call it,
Yeah.
um, you don't have
Mhm.
the full picture.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think what you've said and where you've come from on your journey, that is such a raw and real story that we don't hear so much about.
No.
Because we have a face that we share with the world, and
Yes.
then there's everything that goes on behind the scenes for us. What I'm also curious about is what helped you, what really helped you to kind of move through that time with with the grace that you have that you're sharing, but with the grit, to know that there was something else. And I guess for you to begin to let the light back in again, because
Yeah.
that was a big part of your journey.
Yes, it was. It was. And for me, it was very much, it was about the talking therapy. It was about a lot of walks, being in nature a lot.
Mm,
Nature is so healing, and
yeah,
it's just amazing. And so really doing that, and being kind to the woman inside
yes,
hurting so much, and starting to see what had led to it, understanding what had led to it, being forgiving with myself, and also embracing, and this is something I do with a lot of my clients, really embracing what we think of as negative things that happen in our life. So for example, the nervous breakdown, the I regarded as negative, and the bankruptcy I certainly regarded as negative,
yeah,
and really seeing what the benefit was of embracing them,
yes,
and also that I could then help others in that
yes,
way as well,
yeah,
um, by talking about it, because I, very much pushed it behind, uh,
yeah,
we do, the successful woman
absolutely.
stays there, and oh, okay, so there's all of this stuff, but we've not done
Yes.
that. But actually, when you do,
Yeah,
and when you're more real and more honest, you're more helpful.
yeah,
So so I started to talk about it more.
yeah, yeah.
And so that was a massive shift.
For you, from
Yes.
where you were before the nervous breakdown and post nervous breakdown, it sounds
Yes.
like your whole language, your whole persona had changed within
Yes.
that experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, there had been a lot of shame, and,
Mm,
and I genuinely thought I'd handled everything.
yes.
And, I thought by doing the usual stuff of dust down, carry on,
Yeah,
that I was okay. And I wasn't okay.
yeah, yeah.
And, for anybody who's listening,
Mm,
who relates to that, and even a tiny word, please reach out, because I don't mean necessarily to me, I mean reach out to somebody,
yeah,
because you need to talk. It's
yeah,
so important to talk. And actually, the whole aspect of talking, it's about hearing yourself.
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And just as this series of yours, Abby, is called Hidden to Heard, we also need to be seen.
Mm,
We need to be
yeah,
seen, and we need to be heard. And of course, finding the right person to talk through
yeah.
is absolutely essential.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I love that because um, this series is very much about, as you've said, hidden to herd, and that these are the raw and the real story that you've just shared with us is it hits those both of those words immaculately. And then the next stage after being heard is to be seen. And
Yeah.
so all of that kind of flows through you, through the work that you do, through the gifts that you share in the world in terms of where you're at right now. And yeah, it's just so beautiful to witness and to hear you speak, I think with such elegance and grace about your life's journey and where it's brought you to now is really a moment, another moment of celebration for sure, Karen, another
Mm.
moment of celebration. And so, what I'd love to do is for the women that are like listening to who might feel a little bit hidden right now, a little bit unsure about their journey. And this isn't just for women that are in leadership positions that are running large businesses. You know, as women, you are always leading in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
It's just whether we recognize whether there is the leader within us, but she is always there. Um, but what simple truth or step would you share with her?
Find someone to talk to.
Yeah,
I really would. It's so important.
yeah,
Find someone to talk to that you can
yeah,
trust,
yeah,
you know, and don't just babble out to anybody, because that doesn't help you, because you need to be heard, as
yeah,
you need to be heard. And so it requires probably someone with some training.
yes,
They will hear you, they will know what they're listening for. And, whether they have a very sort of formal way of doing it, or whether they have a very intuitive way of doing it, they will hear what's under the words. And
yeah,
that's what you need.
yeah,
And and if you need to cry, cry.
yeah, really important.
Really important. And really treat yourself as you would treat your best friend.
Yes,
If your best
yeah,
friend was struggling or suffering, you would suggest that, well, you just hug them, wouldn't you? To be
yeah,
So hug yourself
yeah, yeah.
and really be kind. Do the kindest things you can. And I know self-care is such an overused and over-abused phrase.
Mm,
Self-care is really about taking the measures. It's not about, candles and baths. That's a little tiny
yeah,
part of it. It's about taking the action that you need to really help you in whatever this next phase is. And if
yeah,
you're stuck, reach out.
yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. And before we bring this incredible interview to a close, because the time has just flown,
Yes.
where can people buy your book?
They can buy my book on Amazon. Um, or they can reach out to me and I will send them a signed copy.
Okay.
So I think my details will probably be with the interview, won't they, Abby?
Yes, your details will be with the interview. They'll be underneath so that people can actually see all of your details. However, just tell them your details. Where's the best place they can connect with you?
So, well, my email is karen@karenkennaby.com.
Okay.
So if you would like a signed copy, send me an email with your name and we'll do it that way. Otherwise, you can get it on Amazon. Um, and everywhere, on socials, I'm Karen Kennaby. I'm the only Karen Kennaby because it's Kennaby, which is unusual. So
Yes.
you can always find me.
Yes.
But yes, as I say, it's on, globally, it's on Amazon.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And just before we say our goodbyes, Karen has also kindly offered a free one-to-one 20-minute discovery call for any woman that's interested that kind of really aligns with what Karen has shared with us today. So again, you have her details, and we will also put all of those links at the base of the YouTube so that you can click on them and find out more. Karen, it's been incredible. I knew it would be. I had no doubt in the
And
world that this was going to be rich and it was going to be raw and real and bringing all of your beautiful 40 years experience into, right into the interview series of Hidden to Heard has been wonderful. So I want to just say thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being with me. We had such a wonderful meeting. I know this won't be the last time that we'll meet. And yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. I know that you will keep growing, keep expanding all across the globe, because I think your message is one that we all need to hear.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Abby, and thank you so much, everyone, for listening.
You're welcome. All right. Until next time,
Yeah,
take care
see you soon.
now.
Bye.